So let's play. And in all of these things that we're doing in this class, you can obviously modify using common sense. If you have any injuries, let me know. It's always a good idea to let the instructor know if you have injuries. I'm going to start out in a plank, forearm plank. I'm going to hold that for a minute, and at any point, you can put a knee down and just rest, right? But we want to try to get this going. So here I am on hands and knees, elbows, forearms, and knees. And I don't care where your arms are. You could just steeple your hands if you want, or forearms could be parallel, whatever's comfortable for you. So while I'm here, my shoulders obviously over my elbows. I'm going to look straight down at my wrists. I'm going to push the floor away, separating my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to press my tailbone toward my heel. So a little bit of a backward pelvic tilt. And then I'm going to try to suck in where my belt buckle is. Okay, and we're just going to hold this. And again, if you need to, I'd rather you don't, obviously, but if you need to, the rest, then you just put one knee down, or even both knees, but try to just put one knee down. And see how long you can do this, because we're going to do a forearm plank in all four directions. So, face down, face up, and then side to side. And you want to be able to determine which side is stronger. If your right obliques and lats are stronger, and lat are stronger than your left side, you will know that. Couple more breaths here. Good. So we drop the knees. I'll keep my arms where they are. I'll just bring one hand to the other elbow. So now my forearms parallel to the side, to the front of the mat, and then turn to my side. Now, option one is obviously we lift up here and bring the hips forward, because the hips tend to sit back when the core is weak. So we bring the hips forward and lift them up. If you need to rest or you need to assistance here, take your top foot and put it down behind the lower knee. Alternatively, you could drop the lower knee, but I prefer you to use the top foot actually, because then you're actually using your core, you're using your glutes to modify. And again, same thing here, right? We just stay here for a minute, about 15 more seconds. And if you do put your knee down or your foot down, try to determine how far into this you actually do that, because if you can do it longer than on the other side, it means you're stronger on the other side. And then from here, we'll sit down and we'll switch sides. Just going to swing over, lift up, and then again, remember to bring the hips forward. Most people sit back in this because when the core is weak, that's what you do. So you bring the hips forward and then lift up. And reach up to the ceiling. And you could do whatever you want with that top hand, right? You could even have a weight in your hand resting on your hip if you feel like you want to do more. But we will get plenty of core in the next few minutes. And we're just hanging out here. Again, if you need to modify, you can put top foot behind, push down, or you could drop the lower knee, but I'd prefer you use the top foot than the lower knee. So here we get into the obliques, these muscles at the side here that go from the hip, between the hip and the ribs there, and also into the lat, which helps push the shoulder down. We're pushing the floor down, right? Pushing the floor down. And then we'll drop, turn to a sitting. Hands can be facing any direction here, and then lift up into a reverse plank. In the reverse plank here, I want my knees facing straight forward, and we try to back bend here, put my toes on the floor. If that doesn't work for you, you could bend one or both legs and come to this tabletop, but you're not going to get as much out of it as you would if you got into a plank, straight plank. Slight bend in the elbows. Try not to lock the elbows, right? Try not to hyperextend. And the fingers can face any direction that's comfortable for you. So we're actually getting into the back of the core here, the lower back and the glutes, and of course the hamstrings that attach to them. But we're getting into the glutes. You're going to squeeze the glutes, lift the hips, but don't let the knees turn out. Don't let the toes turn out. One more breath here. And then we'll sit down and we'll lie down. Next one, I'm going to kick my legs straight up in the air. If you don't have the range of motion in your hamstrings to straighten your legs, that's okay. Just keep a slight bend in the knee. I'll cross my hands either over the chest, touching the opposite shoulders, or bring the hands behind my neck, not behind the head, but behind the neck. And behind the neck so I don't pull my chin to my chest. We don't want to do that. And from here, I'm going to reverse curl, right? So I take my legs, I press my hips off of the floor, straight up, and then lower straight down. It's a reverse crunch or a pelvic tilt, basically. I'm trying to lift my tailbone off the mat, and it's only coming off about 1.5 inches or so. And what I don't want to do is swing my legs back and use momentum. I want to go straight up and down, straight up and down. And as I lift, I exhale and suck in the core. Exhale, suck in the core. Exhale, suck in the core. Exhale, let's do 2 more. Exhale, lifting and lowering gently. Exhale, lifting and lowering. Plant your feet. So windshield wiper your legs just to release the hip flexors and the lower back. We'll do that again now, but we're going to alternate sides. So my legs go up again. From here, I'm going to push one hip down and lift the other off the mat. And then lower that down, stop in the center, and then switch sides. Lift the other leg, and then down. So I'm actually rocking side to side, but I'm stopping in the middle so I don't use momentum. And down. Exhale, and down. Exhale, and down. So I'm using that breath exhale to engage the core, and we'll get into that in a second. Exhale and down, exhale and down. Let's do one more each side. Exhale, lift, inhale, down, exhale, lift, inhale, down. Good. So let's take a break from the floor. Plant your feet, windshield wiper, just to release again the lower back and the hip flexors. And let's actually come to hands and knees now. So hands behind the knees, kick my legs away, cross ankles, roll over to hands and knees. So here I'm going to try to keep my back as flat as possible. No cow pose, no cat pose. Keep my back as flat as possible. And I'm going to suck in where my belt buckle is. And as I suck it in and hold it in, breathing all the air out, I'm going to hold that for a count of 5, 4, keeping my back flat. 3, this is below the belly button, right? 2, and 1, inhale, release. And I'll do it again. Exhale, suck in below the belly button, squeeze it in down there, keep the back flat, don't crunch. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, inhale, release. A couple more times. Exhale, suck in the core, below the belly button, all the air out, hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, release. Now let's do one more time. Inhale, suck it in, exhale, hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, still holding the breath. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release. Let's come on up to standing. So you want to feel that right down here, right down by your hip bones here, by your ASIS, right inside, okay? That's where you want to feel that. So we're going to do the same thing again in a different position. So I'm going to lean on my knees, come into this chair pose, basically, right? Like Utkatasana, chair pose. Leaning on my knees, feet can be hip width apart or so. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to try not to crunch, right? Take an inhale. Exhale. Suck it in tight. Tight, tight. So your belly is now concave. 5, 4. Hold the air out. 3, 2, 1. Inhale, release. Let's do one more time here. Inhale. Exhale. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, come on up. Now let's do 2 standing, and then we'll go back down to the floor, do some more stuff there. So when I'm standing, I'm going to try to get my pelvis neutral, drop my tailbone so my waistband is level. I'm not spilling out of the front of my bowl. All right. Take an inhale, same thing. Hands could be on the waist. Doesn't matter really where your hands are. Inhale here. As you exhale, suck in tight, concave belly, but it's low down for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, release. Do that again. Exhale. Suck it in. Hold. Squeeze tight. Hold the air out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And release. Let's go back down to the floor. So now we'll get into the obliques a little bit. So I'm going to lie down and kick my legs up in the air again. And again, it doesn't matter if their knees are slightly bent or they're straight, whatever feels good for your lower back. Arms out to the side, hands on the floor, head down. I lower my legs down to the right, halfway to the floor, so 45 degrees. And I want to keep my feet parallel, my ankles parallel. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back up to the center and stop. Then we go back to the other side. Left side now, feet parallel, ankle bones touching. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale back up. And down to the right. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up to center. Stop. Over to the left. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up to center. Let's do one more time each side. Again, straight legs if you can. Touch and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up to center. Stop. Last one. Other side. Touch and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to center. Bend the knees. Put your feet on the floor. And windshield wiper. Couple more times just to release the hip flexors and the lower back. Good. So now we'll engage the upper body as well. So what I want to do is, remember with that pelvic tilt where we crunch and we lifted the tailbone off the floor? I want to do that right here. My hands come behind my neck and I rest my neck in my hands. So I'm looking to the ceiling, not bringing my chin to my chest. Keeping my tailbone off the mat, basically crunching down there. As I exhale, I lift my upper body. So there's only now a couple of vertebrae on the floor. And then inhale down, but keep the crunch. Exhale, lift the upper body. Inhale down. Exhale up. Inhale down. So the only part of my spine that's touching when I'm up there is the middle. Exhale, sucking it in like we did in the kneeling position. Exhale. Inhale. Let's do a couple more. Exhale. Inhale. Last one. Exhale. Inhale. And release. I'm going to roll over. Hands and knees. Almost done. From here, all right, take an inhale. And as you exhale, suck in the core again. And then round the back and crunch as you suck in the core. So a cat pose here. All right, round the back, feel the back stretching. And the front of your core engages when you do this. And I'm sucking it in tight. Then I'll release down to a Sphinx pose on the floor. So elbows under shoulders. I'm just going to stretch out that area. So I'll flex my thighs to pull on the hip flexors. Pull my ribs forward. I'm going to draw my ribs forward, lengthen my abdominal wall, and then Press the floor down, pull back with your arms, and bring the chest forward, just stretching out the abdominal wall there. And then see if you can breathe into that area. Imagine if you could breathe into your abs, into your abdominal area, which you cannot, but if you could. And release. Hands and knees. 15 minutes of core. Boom, done. Now you can go and eat cake for lunch.